It is cold weather season in Nashville. Space heater. Need some coffee. That's better. Okay, this week's episode is gonna be a little probably rough around the edges, just with producing this EP that I'll tell you about soon and moving and getting the studio set up and all this just bunch of activity. This video is gonna be a little bit late. However, I wanna tell you about a cool event that I helped run and also played for that I think went really well. And what we're gonna do in the video today, I'll tell you a little bit about the show, and we recorded the whole thing, and so I'm gonna dive in and talk to you a little bit about how I would go about mixing tracks from that live show. But before we do, let me show you a little bit of footage of the day of. Here's the deal. I'm heading to an acoustic Christmas show. You remember my new church that's starting up? It's actually not starting till January. It is the first day of December, and we're doing an acoustic Christmas show at a coffee shop in the neighborhood, and it's gonna be really fun. We're bringing our own PA system because the coffee shop doesn't have one. And oh, there's a deer. Deer. Hi, deer. I'm just gonna ease on by. See you later. I'm excited to be playing, but I'm more excited to hear the other songwriters. Jeremy Casella, you've seen him on GilderCam, I think. Frankie Barranco, you've definitely seen her on GilderCam. And then my buddy Daniel Ross will also be playing. We're gonna play an In the Round show, which is a very Nashville songwriter thing where we'll take turns playing songs. We'll do a round of a couple of original songs, and then we'll take a little break, and then we'll do a round of Christmas tunes. It's gonna be super fun, and fingers crossed we'll have time to get everything set up to record it and have crowd mics. And who knows, it might turn into a fun release of some sort. But now I'm headed to the elementary school to pick up the gear, load it into the car, so then we can take it over there and get it set up just in time for the show. Should be a fun one. That was fun. I would have liked to get more footage of the event, but my camera battery died and there were a million things to do and it just slipped my mind. Glad I got what I got, to be honest. The setup for the show, the venue we were playing in doesn't have a PA system, so we had to bring our own. Thankfully, I just put together a killer PA system for the church, and we just brought that whole system and set it up there, which was centered around, this is in an episode, a couple episodes back, centered around a PreSonus rack mount mixer run off of an iPad and mics, DI boxes, QSC speakers, QSC wedges. That's the setup. Sounded really good. And because we're using a PreSonus rack mount Studio Live, all I had to do was plug in my laptop via USB, and we were able to multi-track the whole thing using their capture software. Thankfully, Ryan, my sound guy, managed to set up a single crowd mic before we got started. Things were so crazy, I thought, I'm not even gonna record it. There's no time for a crowd mic, and who wants to hear just a guitar vocal with a direct guitar and a vocal mic if there's no crowd mic to hear the audience afterward? It just gets a little awkward. Thankfully, Ryan set that up, and what we're gonna do today in this episode, I've opened the session in Studio One, and I'm gonna pull it up and see what it sounds like, and then show you a few things that I would do if I was mixing this for like a live record. Okay, let's do it. Okay, I've got the session pulled up in front of me, and what's really cool about this is when I open the session in Studio One, it just gives me all the tracks. Even though I didn't record them all, it gives me all 24 channels plus the extra 8 channels that are available as like subgroups and things that you can record. As you can see, I recorded all 4 vocals, all 4 guitars, and then here's the room mic down here. If we zoom in, the waveforms, they're all pretty low, but I do have audio on everything, which is great. And what's really cool, I didn't realize it does this. When I open up the mixer window, it actually pulls up the Fat Channel plugin, and it has the EQ and compression settings that Ryan had on my voice for the show. Now, that's not terribly helpful for me now because I'm not mixing in a big room that I'm mixing in my studio, so I can take those off. But I thought that was kind of interesting that that's already baked in to the track itself. Here's what I'm going to do. I've picked the song that I want to work on, and I'm going to just mute everything else. Actually, I'm going to export the track from this one song and bring it into my mixing template, so I've got some effects and things to mess with. No, I'm not going to do that. We're going to do it right here in the session, but I will clean up the session because there's just a lot of extra tracks here that I just don't need. And then let's take everybody else and bring their faders down, and I'll put my guitar and my vocal together. So we'll color code me, vocal yellow, guitar blue, and I'm probably going to need to gain these up quite a bit to get enough volume because the levels are pretty low here. But let's just hit play and kind of see. So I'm going to do one of the Christmas songs that I did, see how the levels are panning out. One fun thing I like to do is if it's quiet, take a piece of audio and just hit normalize on the audio itself, and boom, it takes me to as loud as it can be without clipping, and I can always bring it back a little bit from there. So I'm going to do that to both tracks here. All right, the vocals already clipped somewhere, probably during sound check, and we'll do that with the room mic as well. Yeah, so now we have those pulled up. That's kind of nice. Faders. So I've got my faders here at 0. Let me just hide everybody else, because this is going to make... There's a lot of things here that we don't need to see. So let's just hide everything except for the vocal, the guitar, and the room mic, which we will label room. So real quickly, let's just go to where I'm playing and singing and get some levels here. Come thou long expect. All right, vocal's good. Let's get the guitar up some more. Come thou long expected Jesus, born to set thy people free from our fears and sins. Release us, let us find. Let's see what this room mic sounds like now. It is not right as my main output. There we go. Come thou long expected Jesus, born to set thy people free. So the big thing is everything's mono right now, right? It's all up the middle. We couldn't set up 2 room mics. We didn't have enough stands, so we just had the 1 room mic. Come thou long expected. But it does give us some room sound, which is nice, and then you get to like the end of the song. So you've got some applause there. It gives you a sense of the liveness of it, right? Without having to use fake reverb to make that happen. What I'd love to do is to make this track sound more stereo. And here's how I'm going to do it. Not use a stereo width plugin, but going to use one of my favorite things to kind of stereoize something is to use this feature inside Studio One. Let's put this Fat Channel at the end, which lets you kind of take plugins and split them. I've shown this before, but just in case I haven't, use a splitter, and we're going to do a channel split. So left goes through here, right goes through this delay, and then we set up this delay at something like maybe a little over 100 milliseconds or so. No feedback. The full signal coming through, but set the mix to 100%. To 100%. Now, if we listen to this track, it's going to sound more stereo. Except it still sounds mono because this is still a mono track, Boink, let's try it now. All right, so that delay is too much. Let's bring it down to something like, let's try 30 milliseconds. That's interesting. So that's just the room mic. Now, of course, that's going to cause phase problems, but not if the bulk of our sound is coming from the vocal mic and the guitar direct. Then we're probably not going to have to be as worried about these messing things up, if that makes sense. They're not going to cause enough phase issues because they're not very loud in the mix. Let's pull up a vintage EQ. Let me just pull up my normal fat channel on this sucker. There we go. Roll off the lows on this room mic. Yeah, that feels kind of good. Now I've got a decent sounding room mic. Now let's go make my vocal sound good, because the guitar is going to be the worst sound, right? It's direct guitar. I have said many times I hate the sound of direct acoustic guitar, but it's all we have to work with. If, you know, we had so much time and plenty of extra gear around, we could have set up mics just on the guitars for the recording, but not for the PA, but that would have been annoying. So let's get my vocal sounding good now.
Born thy people to deliver, born a child and yet a king, born to reign in us forever.
It's pretty good.
Now thy grace shall.
So the vocal by itself, right into that microphone, really close to the mic, very boomy.
Born.
I like some of that warmth, but not that much. So we rolled off some with a high-pass filter, took the low shelf down.
Born thy people to.
Not a great performance. We're going to move the EQ before the compressor and let the compressor do its thing too.
Born thy people to deliver, born a child and yet a king, born to reign in us forever. Now thy gracious kingdom bring. By thine own eternal Spirit, ruling all our hearts alone. By thine own.
One thing we might do too is use some sort of a reverb overall. Maybe like a room sound. I gotta go find my room sound. Actually, yeah, let's do the room sound. Let's use the studio, medium studio sound. I've liked that before. So back on the lead vocal.
Born thy people to.
Too warm. Most EQ, most reverbs right out of the gate are too warm. So I come in and just roll off a bunch of low end on them.
Born thy people to deliver, born a child.
So we got fake reverb, and then we take the room mic, send it to the fake reverb, so we have more room on the room.
Born thy people to deliver, born a child and yet a king.
And the kids are here! Stand by. Hi, sweetheart.
Dad, I need a potty. I'm gonna go yellow. And if I get yellow, I only take away my.
Fun thing about having a studio in the basement is the kids come in there, so I get to stop and say, "Wah, hi, blah, blah," and then we get back to work. Okay, so we got what? A reverb sound here.
Born thy people to.
Probably too much reverb, right? But let's bring it down. Let's dial it back a little bit.
Born thy people to
Still a little too warm on the vocal. Let's pull that shelf down a little more.
Warn thy people to deliver. Born a child and yet a king. Born to reign in us forever. Now thy gracious kingdom break.
A little more low mid cut instead of that upper mid, main mid. Instead of 700 hertz, cutting 360. That feels better.
Warn thy people to.
Let's go for this guitar. Just a direct, slightly out of tune. We can make it work. We can make it work. Let's put our fat channel on there. Whoop. And let's just do some EQ. So a little bit of high pass. With acoustic, direct acoustic, I'm just trying to make it sound less fake. So that's really all I'm going for. A little more bottom end helps. A little less kind of that mid-range chimey fakeness if we can do it. So it's right around that 1.5K that feels super fake to me. Let's throw a little bit of that to that reverb as well.
People to deliver. Born a child and yet a king.
That feels pretty good. That's pretty much how I'd mix this. Going to a room reverb that's roughly the same sound. I'm copying files now. That's roughly the same size as, let's not copy this right now. I'm busy. Roughly the same size as the room we were in to give me extra room sound and more importantly to give some width to the recording because we got this single room mic that we've made more stereo. But it's still not true stereo. Still doesn't sound super great and we have to keep it down in the mix because it's got that left and right phasey thing. But if we just, imagine if we just went guitar vocal with no room at all and no reverb.
Born thy people to deliver. Born a child and yet a king.
I mean, it's fine. It clearly sounds live, but add in the room, even without the reverb, add the room in and it definitely gives it a new vibe.
Thy people to.
Even the room without that delay thing.
Born thy people.
Harder to hear in mono, right? Stereo, we get a little more width.
Born thy people to.
Then add in the reverb and it pulls and glues it all together, makes it warm and inviting and feels like a Christmas event, right?
Born thy people to deliver. Born a child and yet a king. Born to reign in us forever. Now thy gracious kingdom bring. By thine own eternal spirit, ruling all our hearts alone. By thine own sufficient merit, raise us to thy glorious throne.
And there you go. That came together. To be honest, I started shooting this episode of GilderCam having not listened to the tracks yet, and it could have just been awful. Thankfully, it wasn't. And it feels good. This feels like something I might actually go export this, throw a limiter on the master bus, and release it. Because it does sound cool, and it's something new that I've not done, a live version of this song in front of an audience. And it's super cool, and I like it. So if nothing else, I hope this was a little interesting for you. Maybe you got a couple ideas for a project you might be working on in the future, or maybe down the road if you do a little small live singer-songwriter event. Here are some ways that you can record it and then mix it to make it sound pretty stinking good given all the restraints that we had on the session. Well, that wraps up this episode of GilderCam. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing and liking and commenting and interacting with me. It really does mean a lot. I made an executive decision. I don't know if I'm going to release that song anywhere else, like my website and iTunes or Spotify, but I am releasing it to you. If you'd like to download it, there should just be a download link in the description below on YouTube. So my Christmas gift to you if you want to check it out. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.
Come thou long expected Jesus, born to save.